Hi, welcome to my video on find the measure of a reference angle in degrees, part 3. Part 3 is dealing with when a trig ratio for cos and sine is negative. Find the reference angle for each to the nearest degree. Examples: cos theta is a negative a half. Well, what I do, I say the cos of the reference angle is equal to 1/2. I change it to a positive and I work it out for a positive. And if you think about where it's positive, you think about quadrant 1. Terminal arm is drawn out and the cos is associated with the x. Drop it perpendicular to the x-axis. A half. Y is root 3 over 2. 1. And so this is a 60-degree reference angle. So the reference angle is 60. But let's look at it closer. What would happen if you tried to do this with a calculator? Let's say this was a negative 0.5. Inverse cos of negative a half is a negative 0.5. The calculator will give you 120 degrees. So what happens is that we haven't done enough math yet to explain why this is doing why the calculator is giving you 120 when the reference angle is 60. But if you notice, if you did 120 and you drew a circle, 120 degrees starting from standard position right here, there's a 90 and right here. So that's 120 degrees right there. And you draw your terminal arm out. You drop it perpendicular to the x-axis. That makes this arc right here 60. So that means this angle in here is 60. That means your reference angle is 60 for this rotation of 120 when cos is a negative a half. But to avoid this confusion, if you make the fraction positive, then you'll always get a first quadrant angle, which is your reference angle. Okay? And again, sine of theta is negative root 2 over 2. So we'll go sine of the reference angle is root 2 over 2 positive. And again, it's in, you think about quadrant 1, then you think about terminal arm, perpendicular to the x, sine is the y, so the y is root 2 over 2, the x is root 2 over 2, hypotenuse is 1, so that's a 45 degree angle. So your reference angle is 45 degrees, because 45 degrees is root 2 over 2. And again, cos of the reference angle is root 3 over 2. So when you make it positive, you will come up with your reference angle. And you draw your diagram, terminal arm, and cos is the x, so the perpendicular to the x-axis. X is root 3 over 2 and a half and 1. And so opposite a half is 30. So your reference angle is 30. And also, if you think about it, and we mentioned this before, remember that root 2 over 2 is 707. And root 3 over 2 is 0.866. We did that in the previous unit. So if you knew that root 2 over 2, if you knew that root 2 was 0.707, you could go inverse sine on 0.707. And that will give you your 45 degrees, as well as root 3 over 2 is 0.866. So if you took your calculator and you went inverse cos, this cos I'm doing, 0.866, you would get 30 degrees. But this is using your calculator. But I like to do it also. Yes, know what the calculator is doing, but I also like to understand or learn that, yes, if I forget, I don't have a calculator, then I can use my head because I've learned the special right triangles, etc., etc. So D, the sine of the reference angle, is 0.303. Now we got to use the calculator here. So here we go. Inverse sine. Inverse sine of decimal 303. And that gives us 17.6. So it gives us 18 degrees. So the reference angle is 18 degrees. Remember, sine is the y, and the y is negative in quadrants 3 and 4. So this theta is down in quadrants 3 and 4, even though the reference angle is 18, but we'll do more work on that later. Cos of the reference angle is 4.116. Notice the reference angle can't be done. No. Why? Because cos lies between -1 and 1. 4.116 is too large, and so there's no angle. Nope. Keep that in mind. Cos and sine on a unit circle can only go between -1 and 1, equal to -1 and 1, and in between. Some practice, pause the video and work these out. So what's the reference angle? Sine of the reference angle is √3/2. Make it positive and you get the reference angle. And √3/2, again, we're talking about the first quadrant. And sine is the y, so the y is √3/2. X is a half, that's a 1. This is a 60, so the reference angle is 60. And again, if you made that 0.866 and did the calculator, you would get 60. And the cos of the reference angle is √2/2. And without thinking, don't have to do much now, because if you got √2/2, you must have a 45-degree angle, because two angles are 45. So I don't have to draw that, but and the sine of the reference angle is a half. And think about it. Circle, terminal arm perpendicular to the x-axis. Sine is related to the y. So y is a half. X is √3/2. That's a 1. And remember, this is on a unit circle whose radius is 1. That's why these are radius is 1. This point is 1, 0. This point right here is 1, 0. So opposite the half is 30. So your reference angle is 30. And think about it. The sine of 30. Check with your calculator. Just take your calculator and work out the sine of 30 degrees to see. Sine of, oh, what did I do then? I had inverse. Sorry about that. Oh, clear it. Sine of 30 degrees. I don't need half, 0.5. And we got cos of the reference angle. Change it to a positive, 0.6247. And so you need your calculator for this. So 0.6247. So put down the calculator and we clear it. And we're doing the inverse. So it's the inverse of cos 0.6247. And we get 51.3, so it's 51 degrees. And sine theta is negative 1.0101. So the sine of the reference angle is 1.0101. Change it to a positive. And notice, just to plug it in, I don't have to plug it in, but I will. It's inverse sine, I think it's sine, yeah, of 1.0101. Oh, gone. Let's go back. I didn't put a 0 in there. 0, 1. Notice, I know what the answer is to this because this is larger than 1. So the answer is going to be, again, an error. Error. So that means it's no. So there's no such theta. Because, again, negative 1 less than theta less than 1. So sine and cos are equal to negative 1, equal to 1, and in between. As you rotate around this circle, the x goes from 1 to a negative 1, and the y goes from 1 up here to a negative 1 down here. So again, if your fraction is positive, you'll always get a first quadrant angle, and you'll always get the reference angle. But if you let me show you what happens. Let me show you this one. Let me show you what happens. Clear this. Inverse sine, when sine is negative. Sine is a negative, let's say 0.5. Sine is negative 30. So cos gives you a certain answer for a negative, and sine gives you a negative 30. So keeping them positive, keeping the fractions positive, means you got a first quadrant angle, which means you have your reference angle. And again, if you like my video, click the like button and click the subscribe button. If you're not a subscriber, visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.